Hello everyone! In today's video I want to share a guide about synergies. I'm trying a slightly different format this time. I will briefly go over 5 synergies and give you the key things you need to know about each of them. Alright, let's jump in. First, grass. Grass is all about healing. Every 2 seconds your team restore HP, which means in longer fights you naturally out-sustain your opponent. If the duel drags out, that's where grass really shines. You can play grass right from the start. There are 5 early game grass Pokémon in the basic pool, 3 commons and 2 uncommons, so even without ad picks or region bonuses, it's pretty easy to build a solid early roster. Because of that you can force it, or sometimes the game just clearly suggests it's the right direction. Grass is flexible when it comes to gold management. You can reroll with Meowscarada or Chestnut, but the more standard and consistent option is slow roll. The usual plan is to stabilize, safely reach level 8 and then decide your late game direction. The max grass level is 9, but that's not always realistic, and most of the time it's not even worth it. The level 9 buff doesn't have a huge immediate impact. Most games you will stay at grass 7 and focus on building strong side synergies. The most obvious pairing is Flora, since there's a lot of overlaps. Other options depends heavily on your unique pick, ad pick and region. If you get Carnivine, Monster becomes an option since that synergy needs a buffed carry. Gourmet requires either the right unique pick or another strong enabler, otherwise there are usually better roster fillers. A specific case is Munchlax being added plus Leafstone. Poison needs Paras added, or you need Leafstone for a poison type. Trubbish plus Leafstone plus Berries is actually really strong, I showed that in my short video. Sometimes Ghost, Sound or Light can be worth activating, but that depends a lot of your ad picks and unique. Leafstone overall is extremely valuable. Starting with Eevee is great because Leafeon gives you a strong early game and later you can move the stone to better fit your comp. If you want to guarantee it, you need to find the Fossil Portal at stage 0. One important note, Crookie, the Grass Ultra, is technically melee unit, but if you place him in the back he works as a really strong support unit. Items. Grass has a lot of solid caster with AoE damage, so AP or PP builds are always good. Spell Crit works great too. Since the synergy restores HP, defensive items synergize really well. Green Orb is fantastic here. There are also quite a few melee uniques and legendaries, so having strong defensive items available is always helpful. Other carries expect unique and legendary ones. Worth to mention are Rosalia, Ludicolo, Meowscarada, Venusaur, Sunflora, and both hatched Pokémon Serperior and Decidueye. Grass is a great synergy for beginners. It has a clear playstyle, some flexibility later on, and it's very stable because most key units are consistently available. Flora. Flora summons reinforced Pokémon when your Flora units get knocked out. The higher the synergy level, the more reinforcements you get. It helps in close fights and even in losses, because the reinforcements scale up in power over time. When to play Flora? There are only 4 Flora Pokémon in the base pool, so ad picks, region and your unique or legendary choice matters a lot. Even without ad picks, being in a Flora region can be enough to make it work. In gold management, Flora is very similar to Grass. You can high roll from Meowscarada, but most games you will play it slower and more controlled. Because many Flora units come from ad picks, it's hard to fully commit early unless you are in a Flora region. Most of the time you start with Grass because of the overlaps. Then, before the Gyarados fight, or earlier if you can, you activate Flora to secure the Flora portal next stage. Flora 6 in mid game is realistic only if you are in a Flora region or there is at least one Flora ad pick. If you have a Flora unique, you might need Rosalia from stage 2 epic pool. The standard setup is Grass 7 Flora 6. Leafstone helps a lot if you pick up a non-grass Flora ad pick. Light can sometimes work since there are 4 Flora Light Pokémon. If you get Xernas as your legendary, going beyond Light 2 become possible. Bug, Fairy or Sound are usually just small splash synergies. Since Grass and Flora overlap heavily, itemization is mostly the same. About carries except unique and legendary ones. Besides the Grass Flora units already mentioned, Executor and his Alolan version can work, but as a melee unit there are often better options. Flora has many strong support Pokémon like Cherubi or Cutiefly that really boost your main carries. Flora is a thicker than Grass because the pool changes a lot between games. It's best to commit early since it scales every time your Flora unit gets KO'd. Poison does exactly what you would expect. It lets your poison units apply poison. The higher the level, the more often it triggers. It gives your whole team the consistent damage over time, which isn't standard for most comps. You can always play poisons since there are enough units in the base pool, but ad picks and region bonuses make it much stronger. If you see extra poison bug or poison amorphous early, that's usually a sign it has high potential. For economy, slow roll is preferred, but with a more aggressive mindset because poison can snowball with a win streak. You can high roll Beedrill or Crobat, but that's more of a flying direction. Mid-game, pushing level 7 to unlock the last poison bonus is highly recommended. Unit count is crucial. Poison 3 back 2 early is very strong and can secure win streaks, Mid-game, you usually choose between Poison Bug, Poison Amorphous or Poison Aquatic. It all depends on your unique and ad picks. Late game, Poison Bug and Poison Aquatic usually stay on the same path, just upgrading units. If you get a Dragon Poison Legendary, Dragon 3 opens up. With Poison Amorphous, you might pivot toward Amorphous 7 since it's stronger in the late game. In that case, mid-game, you focus on securing the Amorphous portal. You always need to evaluate if Poison is strong enough for late game, since it can fall off compared to the other comps. Poison units are usually AD, based since Poison process on basic attacks, so speed, attack damage and crit work best. Loaded dice is amazing, it helps spread poison and increases luck. Since many uniques and legendaries are melee, extra defensive items are very valuable. Other Pokemon which can be considered as carries except unique and legendary ones. As I mentioned earlier, Rosalia is pretty good option, and Venusaur, Dustox, Venabit. Poison is strong but loses momentum in the late game. Aquatic counters it by reducing negative status duration, and items like safety goggles or assault vest make it harder to execute. You always need to consider whether to pivot. Bug Synergy. Bug copies your strongest bug units at the start of the duel. The strongest units are selected based on rarity, items health, and evolution stage. When to play Bug? Best when the game pushes you into it early. It is strongest in early stages when unit counts matters more than raw power. Early evolutions are a great sign. Gold Management. High roll is very tempting. Beedrill and Butterfree are both impactful even mid-game. Venonat and Ledeba in early ad picks are another strong signal. Otherwise, slow roll aggressively and try to abuse early win streak potential. Bug isn't a strong late game synergy. In late stages, quality matters more than quantity. Even 5 extra units can create chaos and sometimes delay your key Pokemon from engaging properly. Bug overlaps mainly with Flying and Poison, and both of those scale better late game, so they usually take priority. Even if Bug is your main synergy, staying at Bug 6 and adding strong side synergy is often better. You can also include powerful ultras like Fletchinder or Bishop. Most Bug uniques and legendaries are melee, so frontline defensive items are key. King's Rock, Max Revive, Shalbell, Stardust. Offensive builds are usually AD based. Other carries except unique and legendary ones. Yanmega with AD or crit build, Dustox as a melee dasher, Volcarona with AD or AP build, Whirlpedia with speed and defensive boost, and both hatch Pokemon Scatterbug and Grubin are great choice. Bug can work, but it's inconsistent as a main synergy and struggles against strong late game comps. Flying. Flying gives defensive bonuses, and at max level it also provides strong offensive value. If Beedrill and Butterfree are realistic and Flying Bug ad picks are available, early flying becomes possible. Otherwise, it's weak early and better as a mid-game pivot after a strong unique. Economy. High roll is basically the only strong early option, otherwise flying feels too weak until level 8. For early game, the best are combining flying with Bug, as amount of units matters a lot at the stages. After that, in the mid game, our goal is to go to level 8 to activate Flying 8 synergy, which is crucial here. Bug is the best side synergy since more units will perform skydive attacks, adding solid damage even from fillers. Remember that many Pokemon gain flying type after evolving, this helps a lot with roster development. Psychic is possible but rare and very dependent on ad picks. Dragon side synergy can happen with high roll, but Dragon as a main synergy is usually stronger than Flying, so pivoting makes more sense. Most other synergies are small additions based on your best units. Items depends on the Pokemon. Many legendaries are casters, so APPP is good. But since Skydive scales with attack, AD items also works really well. Focus on building strong, well-rounded item sets which fit your current roster. Other carries except unique and legendary ones. Yanmega, Dustox, Fletchinder, and hatch Pokemon Disudii, Dragonite, Kilowattrel can work, but usually you prioritize itemizing ultras and legendaries. Flying isn't as popular as before, but it's still playable in the right situation. The key is recognizing when it's actually worth committing. That's all 5 synergy I wanted to cover today. If this guide helped you, leave a like, subscribe and drop a comment. It really supports the channel. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye!